Ahoy boys and girls, welcome back to the show. It's me, your old pal Shanghai Pete. It's a gorgeous night here in Los Angeles, the city of angels, and we are live and alive. How was the week, everybody? Everyone survived? Y'all good? Once again, I barely made it, but that's okay. Wage slaving builds character. Am I right? Just another scarcely comprehensible, sanity-defying freak show courtesy of the circus that we're forced to call a society. And like any good circus, not only can you never escape, it also features a host of gibbering sideshow perversities like the game industry. More like a nightmare that you've had so many times it's become almost comforting than an economic market, the modern game industry operates the way an evil wizard from an 80s horror movie scares you. Despite appearing so comically fake that you can't help but laugh at it, it is nonetheless profoundly disturbing and definitely capable of messily killing everyone. So, since 80s villains require 80s solutions, we are once again forced to show this prehistoric industry how we do things downtown. And how do we do that? Well, by getting deep inside, of course. Just got a short one for y'all this week, as it really didn't have a lot going on, just low-key stuff like the hijinks ensuing from capricious capering corpos continuing to bitch, moan, and throw temper tantrums in response to a new California law which forces them to tell the truth about what customers are actually buying with their money when purchasing digital copies of games. Oh, the horror, right? Everyone runs screaming from the accountability boogeyman. Yes, indeed. What a nightmare. Imagine being forced to admit to customers that they don't actually own anything after spending $70. After decades of being permitted to allow their worst predatory capitalistic instincts to run rampant and roughshod all over their customers, I'm sure it doesn't feel good to be reined in even the little bit that this law calls for. Now, some of you may have noticed that I didn't cover this or stories pertaining to it earlier when it first popped off, and there's many reasons for that, but one is because, we kind of have a relatively smart audience here, at least I like to think so, and I think correctly, that the revelation that you don't actually own anything when you buy games digitally wouldn't really be news to many of you. Nonetheless, this did actually pass in California and will take effect next year, so I think we need to cover it now, or at least as much as I can stomach before I hang myself from despair like Red in Shawshank Redemption. We've all seen the litany of stories that never seem to stop popping up, really detailing the nightmares customers have gone through watching games that they've spent their hard-earned money on surreptitiously vanishing from their libraries, hard drives, and launchers everywhere from consoles to PCs. And we've also seen all the follow-ups to those stories where customers try in vain to either get their game or their money back, only to be told unceremoniously to politely F off by the very companies their money has kept in business. Lovely. So, what exactly is going on here? Let's quote from a piece by The Verge to get the details. California Governor Gruesome Gavin Newsom has signed a law, AB 2426, to combat disappearing purchases of digital games, movies, music, and ebooks. The legislation will force digital storefronts to tell customers that they're just getting a license to use the digital media rather than suggesting they actually own it. When the law comes into effect next year, it will ban digital storefronts from using terms like buy or purchase unless they inform customers that they're not getting unrestricted access to whatever they're buying. Storefronts will have to tell customers they're getting a license that can be revoked, as well as provide a list of all the restrictions that come along with it. Companies that break the rules could be fined, oh no, for false advertising. Okay, so I think I probably speak for everyone when I say, great, that's a good start, but what next? That is fine for California, but what about everywhere else? What about people that live outside the imperial core? What about the people confined to one of the many heathen states that are governed by a little more than naked avarice and self-serving barbarism from the Middle Ages? Well, you guys are effed, of course. Now, that's a bad answer, obviously, but sadly, the only one we're likely going to get for quite some time, even the foreseeable future. Any place where they prevent schools from feeding kids or celebrate tossing people who take Plan B pills into prison isn't likely going to care about precisely how screwed video game consumers are. Unless perhaps it's to see if they can be screwed more, and then they probably would care quite a bit. Ultimately, guys, and this is one of the main reasons I didn't feel a pressing need to address this earlier, as encouraging as this minor, barely measurable, incremental change is, that's all it is, and I just want to warn you all about that. It's a minor change, an isolated one, and only in California. While it is undeniably a point in the positive column, not the negative, I think we all know, especially those of you still buying weed from the neighborhood plug or a sketchy Telegram app, just because something is a law in California does not mean it is a law or even likely to ever become a law anywhere else. Even in the unlikely event that this legislation does spread beyond Cali, it still amounts to little more than a message box or fine print that most people will ignore. Functionally, corpo lawyers are just gonna bludgeon any positive impact this could theoretically have into just a few more lines in another 1,000-page license agreement that we've all already been trained to ignore as part of the impossibly dense walls of undecipherable text that we furiously scroll through just to get to the "let me play the goddamn game" button. It's a pressure release valve and little else. Like, remember how the government sent everybody a check for $1,000 that was supposed to make some sort of difference in the middle of a pandemic when we all lost our jobs? Yeah, thanks, I guess. Maybe we'll put off the violent revolution for a few more months. Maybe. Like, that's what this is. It's table scraps to keep us from tearing them apart for just a little bit longer. I'll take it, sure, but you better believe we're all still hungry.
Woke up, smoke up, blunt, then I pass out. Pass out. Woke up, what up, smoke up, blunt, then I'm back down. Back down. What? Yup, woke up, smoke up, blunt, then I pass out. Pass out.